Okay, so if we try and continue with this design now, so you can see I've made some changes here. I've just kind of done some color coding so as we can see the components slightly easier, and I've added in the PCB, and on the PCB I have two switches. So for left key and right key, I've added in the wheel and a wheel mount. Just dumbing up a wheel module, nothing in here, nothing to allow me to do middle mouse button click or anything. I have added in the optics module. We haven't put in the on and off button, and we'll do that in a few. We'll do that after we're going to do some mechanical work first and get to that. And I've also just roughly placed in the batteries. See, I've got a little bit of interference, but that's okay. We can deal with that as we get to it. So I'm going to take a look at the actual layout of the parts. So if I just exit from this cross section, I'm not too happy with the amount of land that I have here on this side part. I'd like this to be a little higher so as I can make this part a little bit stronger and allow a better connection between these two parts. And I just like this a little higher up here because I think it'll look better. And I don't want this split line to be in the middle of the thumb area, so I'm just going to raise this slightly. So I'm just going to show how that'll work, and it's very similar to what we just did with the adjusting the keys outline. We're going to go into our master model. Okay, we're going to open that up, and we'll have a look down through it. We'll scroll down through and we'll see, okay, there's our split. Okay, so if I go into this sketch, you'll see that I'm just designing at the minute. So I've added this spline here, but I haven't dimensioned it. I haven't gone to any great lengths to constrain it or anything because I'm still in the design phase. I don't really know where this is going to be, and I just want to be able to drag it by freehand. So let's start doing that. Let's drag this up a little bit, and let's do the same at the back. And let's maybe adjust this slightly, roughly there. Okay. So let's check that and let's see. Okay, that's a little better. This runs a little higher in that scoop, and it gives me quite a lot of land here within this part. You'll see in a little while we're going to strengthen this up now, and we'll add some screw bosses to it to allow assembly from this part to the base and to the what we're calling the top. Okay, so let's save this. Back to our assembly, and we can see we have a few updates to perform, so let's do those. Okay, that happened nicely, and let's see, let's take a cross section here. So that looks quite good. So in order to strengthen this part and to provide some base to screw everything together, I'm going to have to do a join. So let me take a screenshot here. Okay, so I've just done a quick screenshot. So let's do blue for that blue component. And what I'm going to have to do is do something like this and do a flat area, probably coming, or some flat rib coming like this for this component. So that will be this guy here. Then for this slightly orangey component, I'm going to have to do something similar, but I think what I'm going to end up doing here is doing like a flat piece here and then come down at this angle, possibly come along like that, come down here, and then to get around here I'm probably going to have enough land here because this is quite thin, so I'm going to need to come across like this, I think, then come down and join here and do something like that, and then I can start cutting away and providing clearance for everything. So I think I'm going to have to do something like this, and actually maybe this is a good opportunity maybe to put some, maybe instead with this one I can actually maybe step down a little bit here, and maybe provide some location for screw bosses possibly there. I'm not sure. We'll have to see how this works out and see what these parts look like as we get through modeling them. Okay, so that's a rough plan. So let's get to our first, I think, modification of the parts. And the first thing that we're going to do is, let me end that section view. So the first thing that I want to show is a method for doing the cutout for the keys. So you could do this in the master model and take that cutout there, but you can do this. It only spans across one part. It doesn't go from one part to another part like these splits do. So I think it's probably easy just to do it in here. So first of all, let's just turn this transparent so as I can see in here like this. And if we go to the key and right click on it and go edit, this will allow us to edit this part in context, which just means edit it in the assembly. So if I come over to keys now, I can see the feature, the mouse surfaces feature. If I just return, you'll see that within keys now all I can see is the mates and the origin details. So I can get into that edit by double clicking on the part. That will bring me back into it. And now that I'm in here, even though I'm in the assembly mode, I'm editing the part in context. So now I can actually model in here, and that's quite handy when I want to relate some new features to some existing geometry. So let's do that now. So I'm going to click on this sketch plane because I want to create a simple extruded cut in the shape of a circle, and just extrude it out either side to give me clearance for that wheel. So let's do a sketch there, and I will project in the outer edge of the wheel so as I have a reference. And let's do the cut for the wheel, and I want it to be perhaps, let's say we'll make that 0.8 bigger than the actual wheel itself. So the wheel, as far as I remember, is 8 millimeters wide. So now we've got this sketch in here. We can see there's a little icon to show that it's got external relations. So let's do an extrude, and we will use the outer profile. We'll do it both sides, and we'll just double check the width here. So this is going to be a cut, and I think that wheel looks to be about 8. As far as I remember, yeah, 8. So let's do maybe 0.5 either side. So let's go to 9. Okay, and let's return to the assembly, and we can see, okay, that's not too bad. The gap is a bit big, but I'd be quite happy with that. So we can see now that we have created that in as a relationship to this part. So what's the advantage to doing that? Well, let's say that we become unhappy with where this wheel sits and we want to move it. So let's do that. Let's move that wheel. Let's move it back a little bit. Okay, so let's see if I give that 2, what direction? Okay, so that's going to go forward. So let's go -3, and let's go up by another 3. Oh, sorry, up is the wrong direction, -17. So now we can see, as we've done that, this opening has been adjusted in position with it. Every time we've moved it, it's moved position, which is very handy. It means we don't have to keep track of this. We've got a very simple relationship giving us a good position on that, giving us a position of this cutout in relation to that wheel. So let's move that back. So as you can see, as I move the wheel, the cutout moves with it, and if we move that back down, the cutout goes with it. So that's good. If we need to move it, we've got a relationship there. So let's just add in some final geometry just while we're here. And the last bits are really just a radius around here. What's that at 2? 0.5 looks okay. And then just a chamfer. This is what we'd kind of expect to see, I suppose, surrounding the wheel. And that looks fine. I'm not going to adjust this to make it look better. You can get the picture. So I just want to show that you can actually model away in assembly mode, and it's very powerful being able to reference to the wheel and to other geometry that's in there. Okay, so let's just, one of the things that I like to do is, even though we've added this radius and this chamfer, let's just take it out for now. Let's roll back, because I want to keep all these to the end. So when we add in more features, I want to make sure that these are at the end, so we can just take them out for now. Okay, so I think the next stage then is we go back to our plan. Let's add in this feature here to give some strength to this component, and that will then allow us to do some work out some screw bosses between this component, the bottom, and the side. So once again, let's just turn the transparency off for the side. And actually for this, we can do this in the actual component itself. We don't need to do this in assembly mode. So I want to take a sketch again on the center plane, and I want to sketch in this angled piece feature and extrude it up to both sides. So let's try this now. So we go new sketch, and we'll just start doing our rectangle, or our rib, let's say from about there, and then we'll come down to here, and we'll make that perpendicular, and finish it off there. Okay, so then let's add in some dimensions. We don't need to go too crazy on the dimensions. I just want to make sure that as we move it around, it stays roughly the same shape as we want it to be. So let me just, now I've dimensioned it. It's kind of auto scaled it, and it's moved things around a little bit on me. So here we go. So let's just, to keep it from moving too far, let me just add a dimension in there. We'll maybe give that 12-ish possibly. And you can see as I start to move this geometry here, it's causing this end bit to move. And actually, I think for now, I kind of want this to be roughly here in the middle. And if I just take a look at wireframe, I can see this is the wall thickness of the front section. Here, that's the wall thickness. So I want to make sure that this stays within there so it's closed up. So let's dimension to that corner there. Okay, so let's do that now. So just, I'm not even going to fix these up. I just want to add them in just to control that so as it doesn't move. Okay, and let's see. So as I start to move this now, that should stay for me. And if I change that, that should also stay. All right. Okay, so let's take a look at this and see what this looks like. Now I just want to drag that out and make sure that overlaps properly, and I will dimension that one just to keep that in place in case we do any movement of it. Okay, so let's go back to our shaded view, and we will do an extrude. I will just go up to next on that side. It looks good. And let's just turn that sketch back on and extrude the other direction up to next. And we can turn that sketch off. Okay, so that's given us a good platform for putting in some screw bosses, and it's strengthened this part up. Now we could start adding in some side ribs, but let's get to the main features first. Okay, so so we've added in this feature to give some strength. Let's go back to our assembly now and just take a look at our section view. and we can see it's actually quite nicely just covers up the batteries. And we can also see, so now we've got some interferences with the PCB. So we may just to tidy this up, we may just raise this up slightly, and we need to add in some clearance features around the wheel and around the two switches. So for now, I think the next step that we're probably going to look at is adding in screw bosses between two components. So there's two methods really that I'd like to show you. One is adding these screw boss sketches to the master model, which is this one, this mouse surfaces derived part. And the other one, which we'll look at between the key and the top, is really just creating the features in one component and then referencing the other component to that, just like we did with the wheel. So we'll just go through that again and how you might do it. Okay.